Obviously, we know that he was really familiar with the piano since a young age. And I'm wondering what drew him to the cello and inspired him to keep writing for the instrument throughout his career.
It's you had pointed out to me in some of our previous discussions that he, has said, I've always loved the cello and it's always been greatly inspiring to me. So, I wonder whether it's just knowing a lot of performers, and he does list a lot of them in his autobiography that he worked with and knew and thought were amazing, whether that was part of the inspiration, and part of what motivated him to write so much for the cello.
Mario composed 7 works originally scored for cello and piano duo. This is excluding some smaller works, such as the Shahi Break, which he later revised for cello-piano duo. Among his favorite collaborators were the great cellists Gregor Piatigorsky and Gaspar Casado. In fact, out of the 7 cello and piano works, 3 of those are dedicated to Piatigorsky. Those are the Valse on the Name of Piatigorsky, the Paraphrase on a Theme by Rossini, sometimes also referred to simply as Figaro, and lastly, the Toccata Opus 83. Mario's wonderfully evocative piece, I Nottambuli, also referred to as the Variazioni Fantastiche, Opus 47, was dedicated to and premiered by Gaspar Casado.
It's really interesting to see when he returns to free-formed pieces that are inspired by his environment, and then when he goes to more traditional forms, scherzino, toccata, the sonata. It seems like he's really kind of alternating. I don't know if that's intentional.
Juggling.
He juggles between something that's more academic and a well-established genre, and then something that's truly personal.
We have to remember that during Mario's lifetime, there was an emergence of many new modernist styles that challenged the ears of the European musical establishment. Works like the Cello Sonata, composed in 1928, were written during the same time as new, complex, non-tonal techniques, such as Second Viennese dodecaphony, for example, were coming to prominence. Mario's music, while always texturally complex and harmonically innovative, remained accessible, imaginative, and colorful.
In your grandfather's music, while it's very carefully crafted at all times, you can tell he thinks about every single marking on the page. The music is always very emotional and accessible. Why do you think that was so important to him?
Well, what I do know is that he really thought that for example, that Second Viennese school, that it was just theoretically very interesting and just way too limited for his vision. He was a musical storyteller. That's what he called himself. And so he was looking for ways to bring the stories that he wanted to tell to life. And apparently, he believed that kind of accessible sounds were the way to draw people in, and he wasn't afraid of something being beautiful. That was his aesthetic.
Mario's music is very rich in its influences and inspirations. So here are a few key aspects to remember when listening to or playing Mario's music.
Mario was born, he said this, in the shadow of the Cathedral of Florence, and it's literally true. Where his family lived is a stone's throw. It's around the corner from the Cathedral of Florence. So he was surrounded by Florentine art and culture, literally for his entire life. And so those things were very, very important to him, not to mention the nature and the views and the countryside. And so as a young man, he really wanted to try to bring to life all the beautiful things that he saw around him. He at some point discovered Shakespeare. He went on to write 11 overtures inspired by Shakespeare and wrote several operas. So this was, for a musical storyteller, Shakespeare is the ultimate. Jewish heritage provided a very, very deep well of interesting stories that he could bring to life. It was something that we felt was if not unique, special to his personality, and he wanted to show pride in it. I think that his faith was for him a very personal thing. It was a very private thing. So I think it was very deep connection that he had with it, and was something that, he found endless inspiration for it.